Okay, today we're going to take notes on glaciers. So glaciers are a large mass of ice that moves slowly over land. Now this is a picture of a specific type of glacier. This is actually a valley glacier. It can be over an entire continent, or it can be just in a valley. As long as you have a large mass of ice, so your word is glacier and ice, and it moves slowly over land. And again, there are two types of glaciers. There's a valley glacier and there's a continental glacier. So valley and continental. So what is a valley glacier? A valley glacier is a long, narrow glacier that forms, so you're writing valley, and this is a long, narrow, see how it's long and narrow glacier, and it forms when snow and ice build up in a mountain valley. So you've got mountains on both sides, and then this is the valley, and the ice is going to form in the valley. So you're going to write mountain, valley. A continental glacier is a glacier that covers much of a continent or a large island. Like Greenland has a continental glacier on it, or Antarctica has a continental glacier. So you can see how it spans far and wide. It's not just in the valley of a mountain range. So you're writing continental, continent, and island. So what are the ice ages? This is not just a movie that you watch. This is an actual event that occurred. And the ice ages is when continental glaciers covered a large part of the Earth's surface. So you're writing ice, you're writing continental, and Earth. And you can see here's a picture of the ice ages, how it dipped down. It actually formed what we have now as the Great Lakes. Okay, and went way low and into other parts of continents. Glacier, how do they form? So glaciers form, so you're going to write glaciers. And these form when more snow falls than melts. So more snow falls than melts. And the snow will accumulate, and it'll get more snow packed on top of it, and that'll cause granular snow, and more snow will pack on top of that, and it'll firm the snow, and more snow will go on top of that, and it'll create glacial ice. So once the snow has formed or has accumulated and it's put pressure on itself and has hardened a little bit into glacier ice, then the glacier is gravity is going to pull the glacier downhill. Now when glaciers get pulled down by gravity, they erode. And glaciers erode by plucking and abrasion. So if you've ever heard of like plucking a chicken, it's like pulling the feathers off a chicken. Well, what glaciers will do is when they form, they'll form around little particles of rocks, and they'll pluck the rocks out of the ground because the ice will form around the rock. And then when gravity pulls the glacier down, the rock will actually gouge into the bedrock or the land underneath. As it gets pulled downward, it's scratching into that underlayer of rock. So again, plucking is when the glacier forms around the rock. These rocks are getting plucked from the ground because the ice is forming around the rock, and when the ice moves, the rock will move with it. So as a glacier flows, it picks up. So you're writing picks up rocks in the process, and when the rock freezes up, and the rock freezes to the bottom of the glacier. So what is abrasion? Well, abrasion, if you can see in this picture, it's the scratching along this smooth rock. What's happened is this rock has been smooth because when the glacier formed, it had rocks attached underneath it, and just like sandpaper, it smoothed out this layer of rock. So rocks on the bottom of the glacier are dragged along, scratching and gouging the bedrock. So you're writing abrasion, scratching, and gouging. Now what happens when the glacier melts? When the glacier melts, it deposits all the rocks and sediments that it's been carrying all along, and all the rocks and sediments it's been pushing ahead of it. So the glacial deposition is when the glacier melts, it's all the debris, it's all the sediment and particles and rocks that it's left behind. So you're writing glaciers and deposit. So what is till? This is a mound of rocks and sediment that were pushed in front or that were carried by the glacier. Okay, and when the glacier left behind or melted, it left behind the sediment. So we call this sediment till. And so you're writing till and you're writing sediment. Now the stuff that was in front of the glacier, imagine that the glacier acts like a bulldozer. So when the bulldozer is pushing the sediment in front of it, it leaves behind, so here's the glaciers forming, it's pushing all this debris in front like a bulldozer. Well, when this melts, it's going to leave this mound behind, and this mound is called the moraine. Okay, it's till deposited at the edge of a glacier and it forms a ridge. And these moraines just got left behind at the end of the ice ages. So you're putting ridge in your notes. And the last one is a kettle. A kettle is when the sediment is getting pushed. It leaves a depression or a hole in the ground. And this hole in the ground left behind by the glacier plucking rocks and sediment and pushing rocks and sediment out of the way, these holes are called kettles. And a kettle is a small depression that forms when a chunk of ice is left in a glacial till. Okay, so you had this ice and it melted, and a lot of the Great Lakes were kettles. Depressions left behind from the ice ages, and then when that water melted, it fills up the holes and makes a lake. So you're writing kettle and depression. And that's all for your Chapter 5, Section 4 notes.